Bearing Witness to the Truth, author Harold Cooke Phillips, copyright 1949. The third way of knowing the truth is that of intuition or insight. Truth not only reasons with Aristotle, but sometimes sings with Homer. Intuition is the realm of feeling, but it must not be confused with instinct. Its roots are not simply biological. There is that about intuition which is akin to perception. Intuition is insight, not instinct. It is cognitive. The knowledge thus gained cannot be, of course, be as precise or exact as that of the reason. Socrates well described this kind of knowledge when he said, "I cannot indeed be confident that this is the exact truth, but that something like it is the truth, I am confident." Those who are wont to question the validity of intuition as a road to reality may find it hard to explain how even in the field of science, intuition plays so large a role. Many scientific discoveries have come as flashes of insight. Though familiar, let us recall a few. Archimedes, in a flash of insight, discovered the principle of hydrostatics. So did Newton the principle of gravitation by observing a falling apple. Galileo discovered the law of oscillation of the pendulum by watching the movement of the chandeliers in the cathedral at Pisa. In like manner did Robert Mayer the law of mechanical equivalence of heat from a chance happening on a voyage. The case of Henry Poincaré was also worthy of note. He had been unsuccessfully working on a mathematical problem. He put it from his mind. One day, walking on a cliff overlooking the sea, the mathematical idea he had sought came to him with the characteristics of conciseness, suddenness, and immediate certainty. So to these and similar searches after truth, doors that could not be opened by labor and painstaking effort yielded instantly to the touch of insight or intuition. It is, however, in the field of religion that intuition is most operative. The great truths of Christianity are not the result of labored argument. It is astonishing how little argument there is in the Bible, and how much truth. Or maybe it would be astonishing were it otherwise. For the winning of an argument does not necessarily mean the discovery of truth. That God is never found at the end of an argument is a familiar observation. I must point out, however, that even as the scientific insights mentioned above came, not just to anybody, but only to those who were scientifically prepared, so too the great Christian insights are grasped only by those who are spiritually prepared. The natural man receives not the things of science. They must be scientifically discerned. No more does the natural man receive the things of the Spirit. They must, as Paul said, be spiritually discerned. When Pontanus, Bishop of Lyons, in the heroic age of the Christian religion, was dragged before the Roman governor and asked, "Who is the God of the Christians?" he replied, "If thou art worthy, thou shalt know." Just so. Only to those who meet the requirements, who are prepared, does God send his insights. The preparation required for the apprehension of spiritual truth is not technical, else God could speak only to the learned. Rather, it is a kind of pre-preparation open to all. The requirements are moral and spiritual, singleness of heart and purpose. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5:8. The meek will he guide in judgment, and the meek will he teach his way. Psalms 25:9. A simple soul surrendered to God and sincerely trying to do His righteous will is vastly more likely to grasp spiritual truth than the most learned of arrogant or haughty mien. I praise Thee, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, for hiding all this from the wise and learned, and revealing it to the simple-minded. Matthew 11:25. The fourth way of knowing the truth is that of experiment. If any man will do his will, he shall know. John 7:17. Stanley Jones was right when he said that it is easier to act your way into right thinking than it is to think your way into right acting. As William Adams Brown said, God is the subject of experiment in religion, in the same sense in which nature is the subject of experiment in science. Why is it that in the Christian religion doing leads to knowing? Let me suggest 2 reasons. For one thing, our willingness to act indicates that we are sincere. Christian truth is not likely to be grasped by the spiritual dilettante, but as apprehended only by those who are morally in earnest. As Pascal said, human things must be known in order to be loved, but divine things must be loved in order to be known. In 1851, Robertson of Brighton preached a sermon on the subject, Obedience, the Organ of Spiritual Knowledge. Without this attitude, much of our religious discussion is unilluminating and ineffectual. We sometimes talk about religion as we do about the weather, with not the slightest intention of doing anything about it. But we can and must do something about Christianity if we are to know its truth. That youth who came to his old minister allegedly disturbed about certain discrepancies in the Bible probably deserved the rebuke of the old man who said to him, "Young man, never mind about the mistakes of Moses. Where were you last night?" Too often, like this youth, we are intellectually curious, but not morally serious. In the Christian religion, that attitude gets us precisely nowhere. We frequently quote the words of Jesus, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:32. We are quite wrong, however, in separating those words from what precedes them. The whole text, as you recall, is, "If you continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." John 8:31-32. If you continue in my word, that is the requirement to be met. It is not met just by talking about the truth, but by striving to live it. To say this is not, of course, to minimize either the necessity or importance of religious discussion. Rather, it is to say that discussion is of value when it clarifies the issue and leads to action. We can no more arrive at Christian truth by the discussion route alone than can the church gathered in convention transform society by passing resolutions about social evils and letting it go at that. We know by doing then because moral seriousness is indispensable to the apprehension of Christian truth. Jesus, when he called his disciples, did not begin by asking them what they believed. He demanded no creedal statement as a prerequisite to discipleship. It was not until near the end of his public ministry in Caesarea Philippi that he asked, "But who say ye that I am?" Matthew 16:15. The basic requirement was their moral earnestness. Follow me, come unto me, learn of me. They would learn as they followed. There was no other way. Wrote Paul, "I follow after, that I may apprehend that for which I also am apprehended for Christ Jesus." Philippians 3:12. Renan, a great admirer of Pasteur, once gave the French chemist the following mild admonition. Truth, sir, is the great coquette. She will not be sought with too much passion, but she is often is most amicable to indifference. She escapes when apparently caught, but gives herself up if patiently waited for, revealing herself after farewells have been said, but inexorable when loved with too much fervor. No doubt we may seek truth so passionately as to mistake our enthusiasm for a reality. But for every person who loses truth from overzealous persistence, 100 miss her for lack of moral seriousness. But in the apprehension of Christian truth, doing is a path to knowing, not only because it is an indication of our sincerity, but also because there is that in the very nature of Christianity which calls for action if its truth is to be known. It is not without significance that the Master connected truth with way and life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. John 14:6. Americans are often accused by Europeans of being activists in religion. Is there not a sense in which the charge can be leveled against Christianity itself? Christianity, by its very nature, is activist. The golden rule is not a passive rule of conduct, nor such commands as follow me, lean on me, go ye. The verbs are all active. Why call ye me Lord, Lord, and not do the things I say? Luke 6:46. In the final judgment, the test was not one of right thinking merely, but of right thinking resulting in right acting. Inasmuch as ye have done it to one of the least of these, Matthew 25:40. The emphasis on action appears, too, in the symbols by which Jesus describes his kingdom: bread, water, salt, light, seed, leaven, coins, and so on. These are not objects of abstract contemplation. They are involved in the whole business of living. So too the individuals whom Jesus mentions most frequently. Who are they? Farmers, carpenters, shepherds, fishermen, bankers, bakers, dressmakers, merchants, travelers, all people of action. This does not mean that Christianity has no room for contemplation. Far from that. For like Martha, we can be careful and troubled about so many things as to miss the one thing needful. It means only that Christian truth is made known not in abstract thinking about life, but in being deeply involved in the living of life. Wit ye not that I must be about my Father's business? Luke 2:49. That business was to intimately relate to the affairs of this world, that it brought Jesus into conflict with the powers that be and led to his crucifixion. The great truths of our religion, like the supplication of a righteous man, are made known